What if Genghis Khan had converted to Christianity? It's 1218. A caravan of Muslim merchants from the Mongol Empire is massacred by the governor of Otrar in the Khwarazmian Empire. Genghis Khan demands justice. He's refused. In response, Genghis Khan destroys the entire Khwarazmian Empire. Cities are burned, populations are slaughtered. The Islamic world is traumatized for centuries. But what if that caravan had been Christian? What if Genghis Khan himself had converted to Christianity before his conquests began? The Mongol Empire would still conquer half the world, but Europe, the Middle East, and Asia would look completely unrecognizable today. Because when the largest land empire in history chooses a religion, it doesn't just change faith, it changes civilization itself. If you want to see how one man's conversion could rewrite world history, hit subscribe right now. Because what you're about to discover isn't just alternate history, it's a glimpse into how close we came to living in a completely different world. Let's explore what actually could have happened. Here's what most people don't know. Genghis Khan converting to Christianity wasn't just possible, it was plausible. The Mongol Empire was religiously tolerant by deliberate policy. Genghis Khan's legal code, the Yasa, granted protection to all religions. Mongol courts included Muslims, Buddhists, Christians, and shamanists. Religious diversity was a tool of statecraft. It prevented conquered peoples from uniting against Mongol rule. But Christianity had deep roots in the Mongol world. Nestorian Christianity had spread across Central Asia and into Mongolia centuries before Genghis Khan's rise. Several prominent Mongol tribes, including the Karaites and Naimans, were predominantly Christian. Genghis Khan's own mother may have been Christian. Many of his wives and key advisors were definitely Nestorian Christians. When Genghis Khan conquered the Karaites in 1203, he married Sorkhaktani, a devout Nestorian Christian, to his son Tolui. She became one of the most influential women in Mongol history. 3 of her sons became great Khans: Mungke, Kublai, and Hulagu. She raised them with exposure to Christian teachings. The Mongol court was so filled with Christians that medieval European rumors claimed there was a Prester John, a powerful Christian king in the East. Those rumors were based on reality. The Mongols were one conversion away from becoming a Christian empire. So what if Genghis Khan made that choice? Let's construct a plausible scenario. In 1206, shortly after being proclaimed Genghis Khan, he faces a critical political decision. The Karaites, recently conquered, represent a significant Christian population. Their religious identity is tied to their cultural cohesion. Rather than maintaining religious neutrality, Genghis Khan sees strategic advantage in conversion. By adopting Christianity, he legitimizes his rule over Christian Turkic tribes. He gains ideological common ground with powerful Christian kingdoms to the west: Georgia, Armenia, and the Byzantine Empire. Most importantly, he transforms the Mongol conquests from pagan invasions into a Christian crusade. This single decision changes everything that follows. When Mongol armies begin expanding westward in the 1220s, they're no longer mysterious pagan hordes. They're Christian warriors fighting Muslim kingdoms. The Kingdom of Georgia, a Christian nation caught between Islamic powers, immediately sees the Mongols as potential allies rather than threats. Armenian Christians, brutally oppressed under Muslim rule, welcome Mongol armies as liberators. When Mongol forces invade the Khwarazmian Empire in 1219, it's not just revenge for a murdered caravan. It's a holy war. Christian Mongols destroying Muslim cities resonates completely differently in medieval Europe and the Middle East. European Crusader states in the Holy Land, constantly besieged by Muslim forces, suddenly have a powerful Christian ally attacking from the east. The strategic calculation of Middle Eastern warfare transforms overnight. The Mongol conquest of the Islamic world becomes exponentially more destructive when framed as religious warfare. In our timeline, the Mongol sack of Baghdad in 1258 was catastrophic, perhaps 200,000 dead. The Abbasid Caliphate destroyed, centuries of accumulated knowledge burned. But the Mongols eventually converted to Islam and integrated into Islamic civilization. In a Christian Mongol timeline, that integration never happens. Christian Mongol rulers view Islam as enemy ideology, not potential common ground. The systematic destruction of Islamic institutions becomes policy, not just wartime brutality. Major Islamic cities, Baghdad, Damascus, Cairo, are conquered and their populations forcibly converted or displaced. The Islamic Golden Age doesn't just end, it's annihilated. The intellectual centers that preserved and advanced Greek philosophy, mathematics, and science are destroyed by Christian armies. The irony is profound. In our timeline, Islamic scholars preserved classical knowledge that eventually sparked the European Renaissance. In this timeline, that knowledge is destroyed by Christian conquerors who view it as heretical. The Mongol invasion of Europe in 1241 becomes the most fascinating divergence point. In our timeline, Mongol armies under Subutai and Batu Khan devastated Poland and Hungary, annihilating European armies at Liegnitz and Mohi. Europe was saved only because Great Khan Ogadai died, and the Mongol princes withdrew to elect a new Khan. In a Christian Mongol timeline, that invasion looks completely different. Christian Mongol armies entering Europe aren't invaders, they're fellow Christians. Initial battles might still occur due to political conflicts and territorial disputes. But the religious dimension changes everything. Pope Gregory IX, who in our timeline called for a crusade against the Mongols, instead welcomes them as the answer to centuries of prayer. A Christian empire from the east, powerful enough to defeat Islam, arriving in Europe's darkest hour. European kingdoms, instead of uniting against the Mongol threat, begin competing for Mongol alliance. The Holy Roman Empire, France, England, all seek marriages, treaties, and partnerships with the Christian Mongol Khans. The Mongol Empire becomes the dominant power in Christian civilization, not its destroyer. But here's where it gets complex. Mongol Christianity wouldn't be Roman Catholicism or Eastern Orthodoxy as Europeans knew it. Nestorian Christianity, the form most prevalent among Central Asian Christians, was considered heretical by both Rome and Constantinople. Nestorians rejected certain formulations about the nature of Christ that mainstream Christianity held essential. A Mongol Christian empire would create a third major branch of Christianity, neither Catholic nor Orthodox, but distinctly Central Asian. This branch would be shamanistic in flavor, tolerant of other faiths, and unconcerned with theological disputes that obsessed European Christians. Imagine a Christianity that values religious pluralism, sees conquest as divine mandate, and integrates Mongolian cultural practices. This becomes the dominant form of Christianity across Asia. The religious map of the world transforms completely. China, conquered by Christian Mongols under Kublai Khan, becomes a Christian nation rather than maintaining Buddhist and Confucian traditions. India faces Christian rather than Muslim invasions from the north. By 1300, Christianity would stretch from England to Korea, but it would be a Christianity unrecognizable to medieval Europeans. Fast forward to the present day. How does this world look? The Middle East is predominantly Christian. Arabic culture survives, but Islamic civilization as we know it is fragmented or non-existent. Mecca and Medina might be Christian holy cities, or ruins, or rebuilt as something entirely different. Central Asia and Mongolia remain Christian heartlands. The cultural exchange between East Asian and Western civilizations happened centuries earlier and under Christian religious framework. Europe never develops the same sense of Christian unity against external threats because those threats are fellow Christians. The Renaissance might happen differently or not at all, since the Islamic scholarship that fueled it was destroyed. The colonial era looks radically different. When European powers begin global exploration in the 15th century, they encounter established Christian civilizations across Asia. The dynamic of Christian Europeans encountering pagans to convert doesn't apply when China and Central Asia are already Christian. Modern geopolitics is unrecognizable. The conflicts that define our world, Western Christianity versus Islam, the tensions between Europe and Asia, are replaced by different fault lines we can barely imagine. Genghis Khan converting to Christianity was historically plausible. The conditions existed, the influences were present, the strategic advantages were real. It didn't happen largely due to Mongol commitment to religious tolerance as political strategy. By not choosing any single religion, Genghis Khan avoided alienating conquered populations and maintained maximum flexibility. But if he had chosen Christianity, the entire trajectory of human civilization changes. Not because Christianity is inherently better or worse than other faiths, but because religious identity became inseparable from political power in the medieval world. One man, one decision, and Islam might be a minority religion today. Europe might be a secondary power to Christian Mongolia. The Middle East might be Christian. China might have churches instead of temples. Now I want to hear from you. If Genghis Khan had converted to Christianity, do you think it would have made the Mongol Empire more brutal or more merciful? Would a Christian Mongol Empire have been better or worse for world history? And would Christianity itself have survived in a form we'd recognize? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this made you realize how fragile history really is, share this video with someone who thinks the world was always destined to turn out exactly as it did. Because it wasn't. It never is.